Raider Nation, Raider Nation, Raider Nation, Raider Nation. This is your president speaking. And I approve this message.
Raiders, Oakland Raiders, Oakland Raiders. Just win, baby, win, baby, win, baby. Don't need no invitation. We are that Raider Nation. We rock that black and silver. We make them shake and shiver.
Showcasing professionalism and etiquette. I think we got a lot more out of these 2 days than we ever could have had we not done this. But I'd like to compliment our players, certainly, and coaches and their players and coaches for working under some tough situations. It's very competitive and very physical out there. A lot of guys got nicked up. I don't have anything official to report, but I'll answer any questions that I can.
Connor Cook seemed to do a nice job today on the offense up and down the field. What have you seen from him the past couple of weeks since he's been in Napa?
Well, he's made great strides. Since he stepped foot here in Napa, he hasn't turned the ball over. He's made good decisions. He audibled 2 or 3 times today to big plays. He's throwing the ball short, medium, and deep accurately, and he's showing really good command. And this will be a good test for him Friday night. He'll get a good amount of playing time.
Coach, you had a good connection with Martavis today. Is Martavis slated to get a full set of run in the preseason?
Well, Martavis he's not a good talent. He's a great talent, and we're going to continue to work him into our offense. And today showed, I think, what he's capable of doing. But to answer your question, we have big plans for him.
John, do you almost get more out of these 2 days than you do a preseason game, especially from the vet guys who maybe don't?
Yeah, that's you just caught it there. That's the thing I like the most. You go into the preseason game, number 1 preseason game Friday night, and you're not going to play your starters. If you do, you're not going to play them very much, but they got quality reps. You're seeing Derek Carr versus Matt Stafford, blitz pickup, 9-on-7, 2-minute drill, move the ball. And it's as close to the real deal as you're going to get. So you get a lot of work done, and now you taper it off for the first team guys, and you get a chance to really isolate who you want to see in the preseason game. I think it's going to be real beneficial.
Coach, for us Detroit guys out here, you got some local products on your roster. Just the impression Maurice Hurst has made early on for you guys, what he's done well out on the field.
Love Hurst. He's been well coached at Michigan. He's polished. He's got a great motor. That's why we traded up to get him. He's exactly what we thought he was. He's going to continue to get better. I think going up against Osemele and Gabe Jackson and Hudson all camp has made him better. It's made him stronger. It's made him play with better technique and leverage. He still has a ways to go, but he and P.J. Hall both give us an element I think that we need here.
There was a few turnovers on the first day, interceptions, whatnot. I didn't see any out there today. Is that really you were pleased with that?
Yeah, we had 2 tip balls yesterday. Those things happen. 1 in 7-on-7, 1 in a 2-minute drill. We're not cut blocking, so sometimes tip passes happen in practice. But yeah, we are stressing the ball every day. You see it before practice. We're trying to take the ball away on defense, and we're trying to take care of the ball on offense. And it's a winning edge in pro football or any level of football. But I'm pleased with the way we responded today.
Do you have any indication yet on when Penn might return?
No, I don't. I do not. He's getting close. I think Rod Martin, our trainer, is pleased with the progress he's made. Hopefully that time is soon.
Hey, Coach, a lot of fans were very excited that you're here. I was in the stands interviewing people for KCBS Radio. And what do you say to them? What do you have to say to them, particularly at this time in the history of the franchise?
Well, I've tried to say it all along. I even said it at Ricky's Sports Bar before I came up here. I try to thank the Raider fans for their support as much as possible. And I don't make any promises. I just say that we're going to try to give the best effort we can. And it's an honor to be back here, and it's a great story. But I also, just want to do everything I can to try to help this team win again. But I love the Raider fans. I love Oakland, and that's the primary reason I'm standing here.
So it seems like Jared Cook and Derek Carey have had a field day against the Lions defense the past couple of days. What have you seen from them and how their offense has attacked their defense?
Well, we want to feature the tight ends the last couple of days, honestly. We think Jared Cook is a rare receiving tight end, and we think Carrier is interesting. I think he's been under the radar. He played wide receiver in college. We acquired him from the Rams. We think he's an intriguing mismatch problem for some teams. So we want to look at different personnel groups. We're trying to like I said when I got here, you know, we might go back to 1978 and be a two-back, fullback-oriented team. We might not. We might use 2 tight ends. We might use 3. And we might use 1. So we have a lot of different personnel groupings and packages, just like every team I know of in this league. And the best group to help us win that particular day is the guys we're going to feature. But we did feature the tight ends the last 2 days.
John, kind of following up on the fans question. I know it's the first preseason game. This will be your first game back in Oakland. I doubt you've really given it much thought, but do you expect it to be, for the fans, a little different atmosphere than maybe a first preseason game? Simply
They're all the same to me and Raider fans. You know, you got to understand that. The preseason game, postseason game, pickup games in Oakland, it's all the same. You know, I am looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it big time. I've got some things, obviously, I got to work out, you know, anticipating situations, communicating with coaches in the press box, you know, the referees on the field, the new rules interpretations. So I got to work myself through calling plays again and managing some tough situations, and I'm anxious to see if I can do it.
You figured out how much you're going to go with Carr and the starters?
Not much. I don't have an official count, but this game's not about about Derek Carr, not yet. It's about finding the right 53 men. And I think you saw today, we got a lot of contenders. There's a lot of guys that have put themselves on the brink of making this football team, and we got to make sure we give them every opportunity to showcase their skills. Obviously, we got a number of guys injured, beat up, so availability will have a lot to do with who plays with who.
Coach, you had a couple of high school football teams out here, Napa and Greenwich High. Why did you guys want to have those guys out here, and what do you think they learned from it?
Well, we love high school football, and, you know, I think it's smart for everybody in this level, pro football, NFL, to give back to youth football. You know, we got a problem, I think, in this country. The game is under siege by a lot of people who don't think it's a safe game. They don't think it's a good game anymore, and I think that's hogwash. You know, we got to encourage kids to play, get the benefits of being on a team, and try to support these programs because they're not getting much support anymore. So we want these kids to come out, see some of the guys they look up to, get some autographs, and get excited about their season.
Do you think the pro game has been affected yet by attitudes towards youth football? Are fewer young athletes getting into football? Do you fear that?
I don't know. I got a strong opinion on that. I just drive around the streets. I don't see kids playing in the yards like they used to. So that's for another day. I just want to encourage kids, if they do play football, you're going to learn about mental and physical toughness and teamwork and sportsmanship and accountability and all the qualities, I think, that make a young man a man.
With first game coming up, have you given any thought to the national anthem before the game starts, and whether have you talked to the team about it?
I haven't yet. I have not yet. But I'm proud, and I'm going to stand, and I'm excited for the national anthem. I'm excited to play on Friday night.
Time for 2 more, guys.
Opie wasn't here yesterday and today, and Seth wasn't out. Seth Roberts wasn't out there today. And
Seth's sore. We didn't play Seth today. Hopefully we have him available here in the next day or so. Obi has had a flare-up, lower body injury of some kind. We're still looking into that.
Last one.
How much plan to ramp up your playbook in the first couple preseason? Do you want to throw a lot of these guys to see how they handle it, or do you get into that?
There's a fine line. We have a big playbook for this game because if you give them a small playbook, that's what they study for 4 days. So if you give them a whole big playbook, they got to study the whole gamut. And they really don't know what you're going to call. And you have to have a big playbook, I think, because after the second quarter, you run out of players. You know, you don't have the same receivers that you want to call a play for in the third quarter. You might get a guy nicked up and you can't use a 2 tight end set. So you have to have some adaptability. And with that said, you have to have a pretty thick nucleus of plays available. And I like it because it makes them study.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, let's go.
Well, probably a little bit too early for a nice Cabernet here in Napa Valley, but never too early for a little football. And we've got 5 hours of ball coming to you here from the site of Raiders training camp. And today, the site of the second of 2 joint practices here between the Raiders and the Lions ahead of their preseason game on Friday night in Oakland. All that here as we welcome you to another edition of Inside Training Camp Live, presented by Mitsubishi Motors. I am Rhett Lewis, here with the coach, Steve Mariucci, 89, 16-year vet Steve Smith Sr. is here with us. And we've got a former Raider here as well. James Jones will join us here shortly. But obviously, there's not room enough for two 89s on one set.
There's not 289s. There's 189. And there's James Jones.
You got to start it early, Red.
Well, if they got me up early.
He spent 16 years antagonizing DBs. I figured he could,
He's going to antagonize you today.
James Jones is my guy, but there's 189 on set today.
Hey, well, let's bring in James Jones. Caught 6 touchdowns for this team in his one season with the Raiders back in 2014. What's up, James?
Good morning, James Jones. How are you, sir?
It's early in the morning, and that's how you doing your dog already, huh? It's only 189, huh? It's all good. I still love you, brother.
You already knew that, man. I love you. That's an excellent shirt. Hair is nice. James Jones.
You're 89B.
Got the nappy head look. You know what I'm saying? Man, y'all wide awake in the morning. I love it, baby. You got a lot of energy. I love it over there, man.
Let's go. It's final day of Inside Training Camp Live. We've got 12 preseason games, a bunch of which you're going to see on the NFL Network tomorrow.
Yes.
So, and then we'll see the Raiders and Lions get at it down in Oakland on Friday night. But let's talk joint practices here, guys. And Mooch, I want to start with you. Obviously, you know Coach Gruden well, and so he's sitting out here, first year back here with the Raiders. Matt Patricia, first year with the Lions. Obviously, there's value in joint practices in most scenarios, but is there a little bit extra value for these two first-year head coaches with their teams?
Yeah, there is. There's value with the players, too, because instead of practicing one-on-one against the familiar DB, Steve, that you've been practicing with for 2 weeks, now you have somebody else. The opponent really gets competitive. And so for the coaches, and I've done this before, you got to kind of alter your routine, and you got to cooperate with the other team and get some things done. You can't install exactly what you want to install all the time, but it's good competitive. It's good evaluation for the scouts that might be here, and it changes it up because there's a certain monotony to practicing against yourself all the time. So this is great. They'll play together for real Friday, but I can't wait to watch these guys practice against each other.
Yeah, when you go against guys that you're always going against. Go ahead, James.
Okay, see, we must be on the delay over here. It's all good. No, I was talking to Coach Mooch. It's crazy you say that because when it's done the right way, you can get a lot out of it. But when you got guys out here fighting and all that stuff, I mean, you might as well not even do no joint practices. But I walked in here today. They said Patricia fines his guys $30,000 if you start fighting out here. So you're either gonna come out here and do some work, or you're gonna get fined.
Yeah, there's no room for any messing around out here.
We'll see if you get that Odell Beckham money, right?
Then you can afford it.
Go ahead and do that fine. Because, when you get two different teams with a great mentality, they want to be aggressive, they want to go out there and show what they have, right? But also, too, you get guys who are used to it. And I was watching the 49ers practice, and it's very different, offense and defensive-minded coaches, right? So you have the defensive coaches, they're going through the script. They're going over their practices. They're going over the coverages, what the wide receivers and what the running backs are running. And then you have the wide receivers and the quarterbacks offensively. They're running routes. Yeah. So that just shows you right there, defensive-minded and defensive coordinators are cheaters, right? They
cheaters,
cheat.
Yeah, they are.
They do not want to get outshined. So I would bet you these coaches right now are going over the scripts. Hey, this is what they did. We're not going to have this. We're not going to have that. So I always believe that defensive players and coaches are morons.
Yeah,
that's what
they're morons. And so, James Jones made the point about fighting. When I was coaching the Niners, we practiced against the San Diego Chargers, okay? And they had Junior Seau and Rodney Harrison, and I was just keeping my fingers crossed for 3 days that they didn't blow up Jerry Rice or any of our guys, because, right, in a 11-on-11 or a blitz period or a 7-on-7 period, because I don't trust any of the other team. They don't know who I am, and it gets so competitive. In fact, Kevin Gogan and Derek Deese started a big fight. They planned it.
So 9-on-7 practice.
Yeah, so they knew darn well they were going to get kicked out of practice and fined. So they go, okay, we're going to do this. And so we had a scrimmage in front of 30,000 people. What do?
Yeah,
they start fighting right away. Boom, out, and they go, we got it. And fans were crazy.
We had when I was in Baltimore, we practiced with the Eagles, and it's just supposed to be thud, right?
Oh gosh.
And so we're doing a run game, and blow, Graham hits somebody. I think it was Brandon Graham hit somebody, right? Harbaugh looks at me. I look at Marshall Yonder.
Time to take care of this?
Someone told someone else to send a message to the defense for the Ravens and all of a sudden, BAM! Defense was hit.
Man, another thud.
And all of a sudden,
here we go.
It was a live drill.
Yeah, we went
you know
from thud
what?
to live,
About
like
2-3 periods later, he calmed down. Everybody it went back to thudding.
Yeah.
And it almost went to touching. Gotcha.
Yeah, we came all the way back.
Because then I was on the hunt too. I was looking to peel back on people.
I'm sure you were.
And the defense was out there. They had a guy go across the middle, and all of a sudden, BAM! And it stopped it. And that's what you call force on force, or a little sign language. Always goes a little bit further than speaking.
Message received.
Yes.
And
but it was a good practice.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
Very well respected.
Yeah.
And we all got along.
And I tell you what, I was talking to James Palmer, who was out here yesterday watching the first joint practice between these two teams yesterday, and he was talking to Derek Johnson, new middle linebacker for the Raiders, and Derek was telling James that he was really impressed with the physicality here within the framework of how they want to do things from day one. So excited to see when they get out here on the practice field just over 2 hours here, about 9:15 Pacific time. So we'll have that for you when these two teams get rolling. We also want to talk to our guy, Mike Garafolo. Mike Garafolo is going to join us here to talk some news and notes around the league. And Mike, good morning to you, my friend. I know you've got some news out here on the Raiders left tackle, Donald Penn, who we haven't really seen out at practice, but what's the latest with him and his contract?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Not as early for me as it is for you, so I appreciate you guys getting up, Brett. Donald Penn on the PUP list right now. He has been asked to take a pay cut, according to Michael Gelkin, who covers the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I have confirmed that, but what I'm told is it's not a major haircut that the Raiders are asking of Penn. It's not like this. It's more of the mooch, where you just trim a couple of hairs just to keep it nice and good looking there. It's $8 million plus that Donald Penn is owed this year from the Raiders, $3 million of which is guaranteed. So there could be some juggling as far as what they want to do with that. But the other thing I'll tell you is if he does call their bluff, I was just talking to a personnel executive the other day about Donald Penn, and he said that guy can still play. He's still got some good football left in him. So if he does call their bluff and he winds up not being with the Raiders, I know there are other teams out there who love to have him as their left tackle.
Hey, Mike, just kind of putting two and two together here. This is in no relation to efforts to get Khalil Mack into camp here on a new contract, is it?
No, I mean, Khalil Mack, that money's going to be so outrageous that Penn's really not going to have a whole lot to do with that. There are a number of guys on the Raiders that wanted contract extensions, that wanted to talk to the Raiders, and they got to tighten the purse strings here and there. I believe it's more that for Donald Penn than anything else as far as cash flow and those types of things.
Sure. Inside Training Camp Live, presented by Mitsubishi Motors, back here with you from Napa, California, where Bruce Irvin and that Raiders defense getting set here early part of practice in what is the second of two joint sessions here between the Raiders and Lions. They will go at it for real, about as real as you can expect for a preseason game, Friday, 10:30 Eastern time down in Oakland. And there's a bit of the Lions early warm-ups here, and I'm here with Steve Mariucci, Steve Smith Sr., and James Jones as well. And guys, and Mooch, I'll start with you. Let's talk about some matchups that we're looking forward to, because one of them to watch for the Lions is Ezekiel Ansah came off the PUP list. He practiced yesterday, and they're gonna let him loose in the preseason. It's going to be interesting to watch out here today.
Let him loose, and I want to watch this Colton Miller from UCLA, the Raiders' first-round draft choice, who's penciled in to start at right tackle, but because Donald Penn is still on PUP, he's going to get some reps at left tackle. That's the tough place to play over there on the offensive line.
So we'll see some Ziggy.
So he's going to see some Ziggy, and that'll be a great matchup. He's not going to be playing against USC and Arizona State. He's going to be playing against the pros. So this is really important part of his development. Colton Miller, he's a big guy. He's a smart guy. He's going to be a heck of a player in our league. He's going to end up at the right tackle this year.
Right.
At some point in his career, he's going to finish at left tackle. But because he's getting reps at both sides, that's going to be very beneficial. And let's block Ziggy because that's a great matchup.
looks like got a peek at. I was trying to see, that was number 99, Arden Key for the Raiders, walking across your screen there. He's a rookie out of LSU.
And they've been very happy with him. They drafted him a little bit later, and boy, oh boy, some people had him evaluated as a much earlier draft choice
no question.
than he was picked. And
even
so
before his last season at LSU, that was kind of the thought, and then kind of didn't have as big of a year in his final year with the Tigers as people expected, and draft stock took a hit there. There's big 7-0 Kelechi Osemele. We were talking to him. James Jones was just having a conversation with him, and James joins us now. And James, before we get your thoughts here on the Raiders and Lions, I was just curious, did you put your hoodie on? You did put your hoodie on. It's cold out here, man.
Yeah, I put my hoodie on, man. My hands started getting cold, all that good stuff. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm in Green Bay in December. It's a little breezy. So, yeah, I got my hoodie on, man. I kind of got my Cali swag, little jean jacket hoodie on. So, I'm trying to stay warm. But, yeah, talking to KO, man, he said he want to ground and pound. He want to mush people. He want to leave them on the ground. So, you could tell that they want this offense to be very aggressive, very violent, run down here. That's why they signed the fullback Smith, brought him in there. From what I've been hearing, they say he's been moving people out the way, letting Marshawn hit them holes. But, yeah, man, that's one of the best offensive lines in football, man. And they want to ground and pound. And it's crazy because you very rarely get offensive linemen that just stand around mean. Like, this offensive line just stands around mean. They ready to maul any and everybody. So it'll be exciting to see how this offense looks this year.
Yeah, left side of your screen there was number 77, Colton Miller, the rookie. And then you were watching Gabe Jackson, Kelechi Osemele. I mean, Rodney Hudson. Yeah, this is a big-time offensive line, especially in the interior there, while Donald Penn is still on the physically unable to perform list. There's a look at a new Raider, Steve Smith Sr. That's Martavis Bryant, who, I don't know if you heard there. John Gruden was not mincing words, talking about he needs more out of Martavis Bryant early on here in training camp.
John Gruden understands. He knows how his system works, and the system works by having outstanding wide receivers. You will see, you look on the depth chart, there are 12 wide receivers on this depth chart. And obviously, 89 is up there.
Amari Cooper, for sure, he's up there at the top.
Number
Jordy
82,
Nelson up there at the
Jordy
top.
Nelson.
Yep.
Now, they want number 12 to step up. But John Gruden is also one of those guys who has a high expectation for anybody who brings in. And then they also they have Ryan Switzer, who's a guy who can play in the slot as well. So they are really putting together a lot of guys, and they are saying, we want to see who can do what they need to do, right? And
and to be fair, that Martavis, from what we understand, has been better as of late. So maybe that kind of motivation there, called out, has helped a little bit.
And see, but that's the thing, and I think that's why Coach said something. As of late, Coach is expecting, when you get a new set of eyes on the same players, they come with new expectations. And as of late, it's not an expectation. You want the guys hitting the road running. You don't want them to show up and plug and play when they decide. You need a guy to show up all the time, because he's an example for the other guys. If you have a guy that's just checking in and out, he decides he's going to show up and make plays on Tuesday, but on Wednesday and Thursday, I'm going to take a few days off and not practice up to the caliber that Coach expects, he's going to let you know. And Gruden is not in the business of letting it go and trying to win next year or the year after that. He wants it now, and he wants those guys to understand it is an emergency. I need you to play at a high level all the time, because you can't plug and play on Sunday. You can't, I'm going to show up this game and not the next.
And Derek Carr.
And you wonder what the offense is going to look like, because we saw a glimpse 2 years ago of how good it could be, LT. What are you expecting?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't know what to expect, because John Gruden, we don't know if he's going to bring his typical West Coast offense, or will he have a bag of tricks with all the different things that he's learned over the last 10 years or so from being up in the booth. So I'm not sure what we're going to see from the Oakland Raiders offense. What I do know is they have a plethora of skilled players that can get the job done, starting with Amari Cooper. Amari can be one of the best receivers in this league
He just needs to be a little bit more consistent. And I think with a guy like John Gruden being there, it can teach him to be more consistent. Also, you know, I know we talk about Jordan Nelson being a possession receiver, and he's going to help him a lot. But to me, a guy like Martavius Bryant, that guy that can stretch the field and really go deep and add that dimension that you need on your offense, that's what makes this offense scary. You got Marshawn Lynch back there, sure. And you know, Doug Martin is also there, but I'm not sure how that's going to shake up with those guys. But the receiving core, I'll tell you what, they're going to be pretty good with Derek Carr.
To me, this offense has got to start with this offensive line. I mean, they've got one of the biggest and toughest O-lines in the league. Last year was a disappointment, you know, and I've said before, I feel like the Oakland Raiders season last year, it was kind of like when you see a trailer for a movie come out and you're like, man, that movie's going to be awesome. Can't wait to go see it. And then you go see the movie and it's a dud. That was their season last year. They got Marshawn Lynch and it was like behind this O-line, who's going to stop beast mode? And it just never manifested. So, to your point about John Gruden and this offense, I don't know what it's going to be, but I know that the offenses he ran down in Tampa, the offenses he ran back when he was in Oakland, it was about getting the ball out with rhythm, getting it out quick into the receiver's hands so they can get yards after the catch. That's what I think they're going to try to do. Martavius Bryant certainly has that ability. I think Jordy Nelson, I think he's still got a lot left in his tank, and I really think Jordy's going to help Derek out in the red zone. Yeah, I think Jordy, he was AR's best friend down in the red zone. He has more touchdowns in the red zone than anybody else in the entire league in the last 2 years. He got 16 of them, so that could be big. Now, the one wrinkle I have with all this, think about John Gruden. For the last, 10 years he's been in the booth? He's been going around to teams, talking to coaches, and picking their brains about, hey, the RPOs, hey, the pistol, hey, what are you doing, how are you doing this? And they've been willingly giving him information because he wasn't coaching. Yeah. So he might have information on all of these different offenses. He might be kind of making his own Frankenstein by taking a little bit of this other stuff. If all these other coaches knew he was going to get back into coaching, they might not have told him some of this stuff. They might not have let him come and watch practice and, hey, here's how we do this and here's why we do it.
It erases that whole argument of, oh, he's been out of the game for 10 years, maybe he's lost a step. Like, no, he's been out there gathering information every single week.
He's been preparing. Absolutely. And then when you talk about the RPO stuff, I think that's something that Marshawn Lynch is very familiar with because he did it with Russell Wilson. Yes. So I think that'll be a seamless transition of having Marshawn Lynch with Derek Carr back there doing the RPO stuff. But to your point about the quick passing stuff, that goes right in line with a guy like Amari Cooper. If you can do those quick passes with him, get the ball in his hands, he is a dynamic player once he gets the ball in his hands.
We saw him getting it out of the breaks against Slade.
Exactly. Also, but Jared Cook, big tight end that can run. Boy, I can't wait to see John Gruden use this big guy. I think he'll get the best out of Jared
Spider
Cook.
Y2 bananas.
Yeah.
Atlanta Falcons travel to Philadelphia to open up the season against the Super Bowl champion Eagles. Well, there's more preseason football live on NFL Network Friday as the Falcons take on the Jets at 7:30 Eastern. That's followed immediately by the Lions taking on the Raiders in Oakland. That's all Friday night.
Done here over the last couple of years. I've kind of brought him to Dallas last year for about 2 or 3 days, and I wanted to get him here for 2 or 3 days as well. So he's got great knowledge. He's got a great way of getting some different things across, and he can see some things that possibly I don't. So we've been together watching a bunch of film, him and I, and gotten him around our battery of our holder, punter, and kicker, and got a chance to talk to Johnny a little bit. So he's a great resource for us. I really appreciate him coming out. Appreciate Coach Gruden letting us bring him out.
What development have you seen from Johnny since you got your hands on him?
Yeah, he's just improving every day. You know, he's working on his direction. He's working on his drop. He's holding for a lefty, holding for a righty. So he's working on everything possible to become a great player. So there's going to be some peaks and valleys, but today I thought he had a good day. Only had really one miss on a 11-play punt set, so he's getting better every day.
Has Switzer been as advertised for you in terms of as a returner?
I don't know what the advertisement said. So I just know, we know a lot about Ryan. He scored in college, he scored in the NFL, and he's competing his rear end off over there at wide receiver, and all those guys are really doing a good job of competing at the end of practice, working on their catches, working on their hands, working on their body position. So I'm excited about preseason start.
What made him someone that you guys wanted to go after?
Well, I just think he's had production, you know, as a rookie player, and I know Coach did a lot of work on him when he was coming out, when Coach was still doing the TV gig and doing the draft and those things. So he knew a lot about him and saw him play in the National Football League. So somehow they worked it out that it became available, and Reggie ended up somehow getting it done. So we're glad he's here.
We know that Townsend can be pretty creative with his punting. You do some directional stuff and whatnot. Do you have him throw as much as he can at those return men, and how does it benefit them to have such a talented punter punch to them?
Yeah, I think you asked it and answered it. In there, I think all of the above. He's got a lot of clubs in his bag, and we're going to try to use them all, depending on where we are on the field. I think that's what he's learning the most now: is where am I, and what can I use where I am on the field? What's the wind doing? Who's the returner back there? How dangerous is that guy? And what can we do to certainly help our coverage with the punt? And then for our return guys to kind of figure out, is he going all the way across his body? Is he going towards the sideline? Is he going to try to get a hang and get themselves in position to catch it? It's kind of a chess match to some degree. So I think they're doing good on the return end. I think he's doing really well on the punt end.
What would it mean for you guys to add somebody with his directional punt ability in a division where you see Tyreek Hill twice a year?
Yeah, I mean, our background is, we've been a directional punt team. So we're trying to do it all. We'd like to have the ability to go to the field when we want. We'd like to have the ability to stay the boundary when we want. We'd love to have the ability to get a fair catch when we want. So, but I've seen those bumper stickers that say, happens, so we're still trying to work on every punt we possibly have. And these guys, every year, they're getting more and more creative with what they can do with the football. So we're going to kind of lean on him a little bit to call his pitches and learn where he is on the field and what is most advantageous to punt at that time.
Is that your kickers getting any kind of an edge in that competition?
Well, I'd say it's a daily grind, to be the kicker. It's a daily grind. So nice try, though. It was really a good question. I loved it.
Does it mean more? If you can put a ranking on it, does it mean more to you to just have a punter who can really just boom his punts and get the hang time, or does it mean more to you to be able to place them in certain places?
Again, I think, those great golfers, they have to be able to drive, they have to be able to putt, so we're in different places on the field. He's working really hard in the red zone, and then we're working in the field. So we want to just try to put every punt, if we can, into our advantage to the return guy. Give our coverage a chance to cover it, whether it's try to pin him in the boundary, try to get a hang. But the more variation he has to his punts, the better off we can be. We're going to try not to give that guy the same exact catch every time, if we can help it.
Last year, this team had two very capable gunners between Johnny Holton on one side and Cordero on the other. Obviously, Cordero Patterson no longer here. How's it looking in terms of your gunners so far early in camp? And Dwayne Harris seemed to be figuring into that mix. Yeah, I think certainly we went and got Dwayne. And, if you look at the last 5 years in the National Football League, Dwayne's always been up in the top 5 in double-digit tackles, not only on kickoff but at the flyer position. And we had a lot of respect for Johnny getting ready to play against him last year. So we got a lot of the receivers out there working, a lot of the corners out there working. Obi's been working out there at Flyers. So we got a bunch of guys out there competing to become the Flyers for us.
Anyone surprised you this week or kind of stood out to you this week?
I'd say the one young guy in Levitt is we're putting him in a lot of positions, and he's doing a lot of good things for us as a young player. And Arden Key has kind of moved around on the punt and doing a good job. And then I call him Big Shaq for us. 91 is we put him in a lot of different positions, and he's responded really well also.
Jason Kapinda, a drafted rookie linebacker, he's going to be trying to obviously earn a spot somehow through special teams ability like a lot of guys this preseason. How important for a young player to show he can contribute on special teams, and what does the preseason mean for a guy like that?
Yeah, I think, again, all of the above. All of it's vital, and Kapinda's a guy we're playing on both sides of the punt team, and he's responded well. He's real smart. He's real physical. For us, it all starts in punt. We're trying to find the best box players, those 6 guys that can play guard, tackle, and wing for us on punt. It's kind of the all-trust team, to be able to protect the punter. So we've played him on both sides now. He's responded well to that. And I think the preseason game is going to show a lot. A lot of those young guys are going to play a lot. And they're going to play on offense, and they're going to play on defense. It turns into a high school game to some degree. So they'll kind of show us a lot about their will when the preseason games start.
What's made Switzer such a good returner? What's made Switzer such a good returner in the past? Is it his vision? Is it his speed, quickness? What really stands out?
Switz just has the ability to make people miss in space, and those guys that have been really good at it. I think he's got 7 career touchdowns in college football, and he hit one last year in pro football. Some of those guys that can score, they have a sixth sense to them. And usually if they can make the first one miss and they understand the return, they can get themselves back and help out the blocks. You know, they're in control of really all the blocks as well, bringing all the blocks to him and then setting them up. He just has a sixth sense for it. You know, he's done it a long time, and he's scored a lot of touchdowns. So.
How much role has Eric Harris had on the special teams this year, and how long do you expect to be without him?
Yeah, I don't know how long we're without him. That's not in my deal. He actually practiced through yesterday with the hand, and he's vital for us right now. He's another guy that we were playing against last year that we respected and we were worried about. We had to have a plan for him. He wore 41 last year, and now he's our personal protector on the punt team, and he's playing in every phase. And I know he's working his butt off on defense, and he's climbing the charts over there as well. So he's vital for us, and depending on what his status ends up on defense, it'll be how much we use him and where we use him. So, but he's really had a great camp.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
I'm the president of the Raider Nation. Please use this as motivation.
If you want a piece of this, you can come and get it.
I'm the president of the Raider Nation. Please use this as motivation.
If you want a piece of this, you can come and get it.
I'm the president of the Raider Nation. Please use this as motivation.